So one day, my teenage son is staring at his phone, as teenagers usually do, and he's texting his friends, and I'm like, dude, can you stop that? You know, it's like, I want to talk to you. He's like, but mom, and I'm like, okay, great. 5 minutes later, I'm like, dude, stop. It's like, I want to talk to you. He's like, Mom, I'm checking my schoolwork. And suddenly in that moment, I had an entirely different perspective. It's like, all of a sudden, the reality of what was really truly going on hit me. And that was the seed for this entire talk. So, what I suddenly realized is that we live with an entire parallel universe around us at all times. There are worlds that happen in this entire parallel universe. Because of this, we're able to send an email to each other, text message each other, we can send family photos to each other. It's infinite potential. And there are also entire worlds that are now created within this universe. If you ever if you're into gaming or you watch your kids gaming, it's like, if you ever hear like League of Legends, it's a whole universe, it's a whole story. It's like they have everything going on, like World of Warcraft, and my son used to love playing Assassin's Creed. I mean, just those are like tiny little things that happen in this extraordinary space of information. And what's so cool is that we're walking around in this every single day. It's like, it's right here. It's right here, but it's like we can't see it unless we have the tools to look right into it. So I decided to look into, well, exactly how much information is in this extraordinary cloud, right? It kind of blew my mind to find out that in 2020, they figured out it was about 44 zettabytes of information. And what is that? Well, a zettabyte is, let's go back and figure out what is a gigabyte. A gigabyte, imagine it's about 50,000 emails, regular old emails. Take that 1 trillion times. That is 1 zettabyte. Or if you think about how many grains of sand there are in the world, including the oceans and the deserts, you take about 28 times of that, and you've got your 44 zettabytes of information. And what blew my mind even more, that's not an all time. I figured, oh, this must be what we've created. No, that's per day. That is per day. And in 2025, it's projected to be 175 zettabytes. And what's even more amazing is that this incredible digital cloud of intentionally organized information is that none of it was there 30 years ago. It just did not even exist. You know, and now it's like, look what we humans have created. It's interesting, it's compelling. It's like, we want to see what's in this parallel universe. And you know, how do we actually look at what's in it? Well, nowadays, we have to use our screens. It's like we pick them up and we go, okay, well, what are we choosing to look at in this amazing portal of information? I mean, with our portals, what are we going to look at in this digital universe? So we have televisions, we have our computers, we have cell phones, we have augmented reality starting to come out. You know, we have virtual reality. But we need all those things to actually see inside. But I imagine someday we won't even need that anymore. We're going to be able to just walk in and we'll be able to see right into this parallel universe that is right next to us. And so I think about when I grew up in Connecticut, I lived on 30 acres of very boring farmland. And all I had to entertain me was my parents' bookshelf, lots of rolling green grass, and a lot of stone walls, and it was so boring. But it's like, if I would have had access to this extraordinary field of information, it would have been amazing. But nowadays, we actually do have this. But we think screens, you know, we have our screens that we need to look into things, and we are, there's a disconnect because we have this extraordinary world of potential, and yet we have our screens and we think, oh, but screens are bad. We should not be looking through our screens. So like, how do we take a look at that a little differently? So one thing we can agree on with our screens is that, God, I wish I had some water up here. Thank you so much. You know, one thing we can agree on is that when we stare in front of our screens, sit there, thank you so much. Awesome. When we're staring at our screens, whether it's in front of our television, whether it's in front of our computer, you know, we sit there for too long and it's not good for us. You know, it's like our bodies are, you know, it's just not a good idea because then you're just going to want to eat more and you're just going to, you know, be still. That's one thing we can all agree on. So that's one reason that we think screens are bad. It's like, and those are reasons screens are bad if we're just going to sit in front of them and not do anything else. So here we go. Eating too much bad food. Isolation and emotionally hiding, like if you're not feeling good, if you feel depressed and you're just using a screen to entertain yourself and to deflect what's really you're really feeling, these are not good reasons to use your screen. But let's take a look at what's really going on. So I wanted to find out like what's really going on when we're using our screens. So as humans, first of all, just think in the last 30 years, we've created this incredible portal of organized information. Because why? Because we want to connect with each other. Because this is what we do as human beings, we just want to connect. So the first thing we have on our devices that we have as our personalized devices is we put things on there that we can socially connect with other people to. And we are the ones who actually put it on there. It's our choice of what we actually decide we're going to put there. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I love TikTok. Who doesn't like TikTok, right? It's like, you're going to want to look at it. It's fun stuff, and it's only normal. And the thing is, it's a normal thing to want to humanly connect. It's a normal thing that we as humans, this is what we're going to put on our devices that are closest to us, is these, sorry, I'm just like talking so fast, I need water. So these are things we're going to put on our phones. So what happens when you're actually looking at social media? Anytime you have a social connection, whether it is on your phone, in person, you're going to get a hit of dopamine. And that is the feel-good neurotransmitter. That just, in anything you do that feels good, even when, these are my chocolate chip cookies I made for Christmas, even those give you that feel-good feeling, you know? And so, of course, when we go back to our social media here, it's going to feel great to have this. And when we have a feel-good device in our pockets at all times, I think it's to be aware of that. It's like we have tailor-made this for ourselves because we're the only ones that put this on and we can't blame anybody else. It's like I like my social media. It's like I want to keep it. You know, who doesn't want to have that on there, right? But it's a feel-good device. So the other day, for example, I'm sitting at the doctor's office and I'm like kind of bored. I'm like, I think I'll just take out my phone. It's like, oh yeah, I feel good. And it's like, oh, I'm kind of bored. I'm gonna take out my phone. It's like we do it because it's there for us. It's much better than staring at the, just three-dimensional walls or picking up a magazine. There's far more entertaining things going on that we have portals to, the doorways that we use to see into it. So that's one thing. And then in the process, something else that happens is because it's a dopamine hit, we end up programming ourselves that every time we touch the phone, we condition ourselves that we're going to feel good. And that's all subconscious and unconscious. And it's arguable, this is a surprising thing, it's arguable whether that's an addiction or not. Because researchers cannot agree on whether it's an addiction or not, which kind of implies that we might have more control than we want to believe about whether we pick up our phones or not and for what reason. Because think about it, if you put boring things on your phone, you're not going to want to look at it. If you take all your social media off of there and your ability to text someone else because that's how you connect, you're not going to want to look at it. It's what we choose to do with these devices, and we're using them as a normal human would. Humans want to connect, so this is what we do. Now, another thing that is so interesting about these phones that are used as portals to this infinite area of this infinite data sphere is they've become part of our identity. And so this is something really cool. So think about this. You know those times when you have a photo and you're showing someone and then they go to touch your phone and there's that feeling of like, ooh, they're touching my phone, you know? Or someone else tries to hand you their phone. It just feels kind of weird. Not just one of the things, it's because we put so much personal information on it, it's become part of who we are. It's how we communicate in the world. We're literally part like artificial intelligence. It's like we have these computers now that we carry around with us. We've labeled them as phones, but they're really computers that are portals. We use them as a portal, point them in the direction of what we really want to see. Got my cookies, let's see. Aha, okay, well, we're going to get back to that one for a moment here. So then you think about what's the remedy here of not picking up our phones all the time and not, being only entertained by our computers? Or is that okay, or is it not okay? I mean, this is like a fascinating universe that we have that is, this organized digital data sphere. I mean, there's so much we can do. We book our travel, we've got telehealth, we've got remote work. I mean, all of this is now possible. And so what we need to do is we start to realize, we have a choice, because then it's much more fun instead of just thinking, screens are bad, So when we start having a choice in the matter, then we can actually just embrace everything that is being created right in front of our eyes. It's like this whole entire digital universe is just blossoming in front of us. So the first thing is just be aware. First of all, aware that you've got a feel-good device in your pocket, most likely at all times. Just know that's what it is, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, of course, you're going to want to pick it up first thing in the morning, because it's a feel-good device. It's just how us humans have now created this thing for ourselves by putting on these portals. We have created portals for ourselves because it's what we like to do. So that's the first thing, just be aware of it, and that it's okay. But then we can choose. It's like, all right, well, do I really want to wake up in the morning and look at my phone first thing, or do I actually want to, maybe I want to read an affirmation, maybe I want to do meditation practice, just depends on what you want to do. So the second piece is, I say, learn how to go into the internal world, and that piece is get a relationship with yourself. Find out about those things that really ignite your passion for life. You really find, to take the time to introspect. You take the time to learn the practice of meditation, because what that does, it actually keeps your mind from chattering, and then you can start seeing what's really there and find out what you really want. It's like, what do you really want? Those are just some tools that we have. There's so many out there that we can now utilize, especially with the advancement of technology as well. We can access these wonderful states of consciousness much faster than we ever could before. So we have first awareness, and then we have introspection, and finally we have intention. It's like intentionally, what do you want to do? Do you actually want to go into this digital data sphere, this intentional field of organized information? Do you want to learn how to speak Japanese? Do you want to find out what Japanese cooking is like? Do you want to check out what it's like to live across the world? Do you want to make a new friend in a different country? Do you want to learn, it's anything new, it's endless. It's like, how can you use this infinite digital potential to enhance your life, to do things that you never dreamt were possible? Because if we're always looking at screens as, it's bad, we're going to also be limiting our capacity to really embrace everything that it wants to bring to us, or everything it brings to us, because of our perspective of it. And by embracing it and saying, oh wow, there's almost infinite potential, and what could I use that for myself to enhance my life? So that's really what I love seeing. So here we are walking through the door of this extraordinary potential to do the things we love to do, to learn how to be more creative, to be more passionate about life, and to, finally walk through the doors of possibility. So anyway, thank you everyone, and live creatively. Thank you.